Our final segment was a structured news broadcast that focused on misinformation and fake news and also bring in an audience participation section. The concept came from a late pivot in forming our class meta groups. Another group was interested in covering AI, and we were asked to shift to misinformation and fake news. The wonderful Ashley anchored the segment, presenting real feeling current news stories that were actually fake, such as Blake Lively buying her own Met Gala ticket, Trump purchasing Australia, and lawn bowls becoming our new national sport. And this was presented as real before turning to the audience in the studio and opening questions about what we consume, share, and verify when it comes to news. The segment achieved two things simultaneously: the credibility and hard hitting effect of a structured, scripted, formatted skit, and the connection and reflection of real community space. The scripted half worked well on screen, with the media timed to and overlaid on Ashley's delivery. The audience participation half was less consistent and more personally engaging, with contributions ranging from awkward acknowledgement of our maybe poor choices of news sources, well through to well thought out analysis and honest reflections of our current state of news media. The kind of issue with the audience participation was visible in the hesitation that a lot of audience members had at the start of the segment when we cut to them, as people were unsure of what to say or like who would answer the question. But I think that changes throughout as they get more comfortable and like started to bounce off of each other. And I thought that that started to come across well on screen, and made for a really interesting discussion, especially when the answers allowed for Ashley to respond with a researched insight, providing more context to the discussion. The clearest strength is the format's coherence. It really allowed us to feel more comfortable brainstorming within the idea once we had this like script and format of what we wanted it to look like. And I think within the broader show concept of flicking between TV channels, a news program makes a lot of sense as to what would be on TV. And I think works to convince the audience of this format. What it doesn't fully achieve is something that we have kind of identified in all of our segments so far, and kind of tried to add to as much as we could in the time frame, which was the kind of lack of local specificity within our segments, as was kind of idea of the brief. Something we really wanted to try and integrate as much as possible. So while our fake news stories are recognizable, they are celebrity and political content. But the audience participation section was like really a mechanism to bring the community in. And so I guess like that was how we tried to work around it. I think a big thing is maybe designing the audience participation to feel more inviting and less like unsure of how the audience could engage, like with that hesitance at the start. And like this could look like maybe designing intro questions to ask the audience as a collective to kind of warm everyone up, or like signaling for specific participants. My role within the group was producer, and in this context, it meant being the person through whom all changes moved: script adjustments, role assignments, deadline tracking, communication with other groups, fielding questions, flagging when something was off, and note taking everything. By the time we got to the last week, I had less to do, and was kind of, I guess, like felt like a testament to how I'd been able to help prepare the group to get there, and it allowed me to kind of float around and provide support to my group members with their roles, or like prepping, like Ashley helping her prep to be on screen, or like helping run around like note taking. This role was something I had technically been doing all semester, as I talked about in my previous reflection, but having it formalized really gave me more confidence and structure like in my tasks and in delegating tasks. And I think it really helped having it like more formalized, as like people knew that like, okay, like they can come to me and like I can be the one to like kind of delegate or make final decisions, because I think that was something our group struggled with was like no one wanting to make that final decision and choose one way or the other. And then I was able to participate as an audience member during our segment in our final show, which put me on the other side of the production that I'd been kind of managing, and was a useful experience for me in like viewing our work and reflecting on it from a different point of view. If I were to like kind of move around the class production structure, I'd kind of bring that into group coordination in around week 6. I think that would give enough time for our groups to kind of connect and like have experimented in our individual groups and like try out different roles within the studio, but then get us start thinking about like what our final experiment could do, as like if we already have an idea of like what theme or structure we want our final show to have, start like really drawing from those other groups like connections or ideas and stuff, which I think was when things shined the most. What I'm taking away from this project is definitely more than I expected to. I have found that I have a genuine instinct and like interest in planning and production logistics. Surprise! What I've been doing all semester. I didn't think that that was something that like I would kind of take to as much as I did coming into the semester. And those have been kind of my main reflections and takeaways from this wonderful class this semester. I've had so much fun, and I'm really proud of what we were able to do in the end.